There's an absolutely massive thunderstorm going on at the moment, so just like if you see any flashes or anything, that's just lightning. It's not some weird like editing effect or whatever. But yeah, so I realised the topic of this video isn't deep, and that the majority of graduates won't go on to a PhD each year, but the whole time I've had this channel, I've been at university and I've kind of been thinking that a PhD might be something that I'd quite like to do, and now I've changed my mind. So because I get a lot of questions about what I'm doing after graduation and stuff, I thought I'd kind of like chat through how I came to this decision, yeah, just in case it's helpful for any of you if you're going into your final year of university or whatever. So yeah, just in case you don't know, I did my undergrad in theoretical physics. I did well in my degree. I ended up graduating top of my year, and I did a couple of internships that I really enjoyed, and an outreach internship as well. And yeah, I enjoyed them. So I talked to some of my lecturers and they kind of agreed that yeah, a PhD could be like a realistic prospect if I wanted to do one. So yeah, I started looking into it. I figured I might enjoy it. So then I went on to do a master's degree, and that was the MSc in Mathematical and Theoretical Physics at Oxford, which I've literally just finished my exams for. And I applied for that with the view that that master's degree would be a really good starting point if I then wanted to go on and do a PhD afterwards. However, probably around November of my master's year, so the November just gone, I started seriously doubting whether a PhD was something that I really wanted to do. Yeah, so in my mind I kind of feel like, and bear in mind here I'm very much specifically talking about the sciences. I understand that humanities PhDs are very different to science PhDs, so specifically talking about PhDs in physics or applied maths here. But yeah, I kind of personally feel like there are a couple of legitimate reasons to want to do a PhD. So the first legitimate reason that I think there is for doing a PhD is if it helps you to get into the career that you want to have. Now, for most things outside of academia, you don't need a PhD, and like if you've already got a master's degree, getting a PhD on top of that actually isn't going to improve your employment prospects or improve like your salary prospects much at all. There are lots of studies that show that. If I remember, I'll try and link some down below. So primarily, and again, I'm only talking about the sciences here, I have no idea about the humanities. A PhD is basically mostly useful if you then want to go into research in academia. So the initial reason why I started thinking that a PhD might not be for me was because I started realising that I probably didn't want to work for a university. So as you should be aware if you're currently a uni student and you've paid attention to the UCU strikes, there are lots of issues with careers in academia. So lack of job security is a massive one, particularly for recent PhD graduates. Most of them will not be on a permanent contract. I'm also kind of not a big fan of the, I guess, hierarchical nature that some university departments can have. I think I was very lucky in that the department I did my undergraduate degree in was a very, very friendly and welcoming department, and everyone kind of treated each other as equals, whether they were like a first year undergrad or they were a senior lecturer. Like everyone just kind of mingled and chatted and got to know each other. But doing my postgrad degree showed me that that's not the case in every university, and it just kind of feels very elitist to me, and it's not the kind of system that I would want to be working in. And yeah, so there are some universities that I would probably be quite happy in, but the thing is, what I've found from talking to people when I've asked for advice is that in academia, if you want a permanent research position, again I'm just talking about physics here, I don't know about other subjects, but what I've been told is you pretty much have to just go wherever the job is, because by the time you've specialised there aren't going to be many permanent research positions opening up. And that's another thing, like I know it might sound stupid if it's not something that comes into consideration for you, but for me the kind of environment that I'm living in I think is very important. So I really love spending time outdoors, and like my ideal place to live I guess would be a kind of like small city or a large town with some nice countryside nearby. I definitely wouldn't want to live somewhere like Manchester or London, for example. I know some people love living there, but it's just not for me. Anyway, yeah, so the second reason I think that is a perfectly valid reason to do a PhD would be for pure enjoyment. My issue here is that in November of my master's years, I just didn't really know what area that I wanted to specialise in yet. I think if you're going to do something purely for enjoyment rather than with some kind of career end goal, like you really do need to be definite that that's what you want to be doing, and I really wasn't. Bear in mind that in November, so when I would have needed to be applying for like PhDs and whatever, I was like, what, 4 weeks into my master's degree, and so there were so many topics that I hadn't even touched on yet because they were going to come up next term, and dedicating 3 or 4 years of my life to one particular project when I didn't yet know if that was, you know, something that I was really interested in, that just seemed not like the best idea to me. Then I would say there are a couple of bad reasons for wanting to do a PhD. Again, this is all just in my opinion, but I don't think it's a great idea to purely do a PhD because you enjoy being at university and you don't want to leave. Now, I want to put the massive caveat here that this is the opinion I had before the world all went a bit weird with the pandemic. I completely understand now that somebody who'd been kind of debating doing a PhD anyway might be more swaying towards one, to delay having to enter the graduate job market for 3 or 4 years to give it a time to kind of sort itself out, because obviously at the moment this is a really bad time for graduate jobs. But if we think about before the pandemic, I basically don't think that doing a PhD to stay at university is a brilliant idea. I really enjoyed being at Lancaster for my undergraduate. I also enjoyed my time at Oxford. But a PhD is a load of kind of stress and pressure to put yourself under just for another, what, 3 or 4 years of like society access and whatever. The other reason I think is a really bad reason to do a PhD is to kind of like prove your love of a subject. Now, I don't think many people do PhDs for this reason, but having spoken to a lot of people who are getting to the stage where they're trying to decide whether to do a PhD or not, there are definitely some people where they kind of like want to prove something either to themselves or to other people. I think this is a really bad reason to do any kind of postgrad degree, even if it's just a master's. Like, if you've got a bachelor's degree in your subject and you've stuck with that for 3 years or however many years it's taken you to get your bachelor's, like, you've already proven that you enjoy that subject and you've proven that you're competent at that subject. So yeah, anyway, in November I'd started thinking about the fact that I probably didn't want a career in academia, and then I started thinking about, okay, but do I want to do a PhD anyway, purely for enjoyment? So I started thinking specifically about what it would be like to do a PhD, and I basically came to the conclusion that I really don't think it's the right thing for me. So one big thing I struggled with last year was kind of burnout from going straight from my final university exams into an internship straight into a really intense master's. And I've always thought that it would have been better to have a break between undergrad and postgrad studies. I just kind of didn't really think about it before I started doing my master's. So I definitely wouldn't want to go straight from a master's to a PhD. But then there were other things about a PhD that just kind of didn't seem right for me whenever I did it. So one thing would be, I actually really enjoy working as part of a team. I really enjoy like seeing people in real life, and I kind of feel like it would be very easy if you were doing a PhD to become very isolated, because even if you are based in an office with other PhD students, you are at the end of the day working on your own project, and I think I'd much rather work on a project as part of a team. The other thing is, I think I'll quite enjoy some kind of like 9-to-5 work-life structure where the work is separated from the home life, because I mean there were some things I enjoyed during my undergraduate degree and my master's about the flexibility, like the fact that if it was a nice day and I had nothing to do, I could just piss off in the middle of the day on a bike ride or whatever. But I kind of think I've had enough of that now. I'd really like to be able to like completely switch off from work when I'm not at work and then really focus on work when I am at work, and I quite like the idea of having my day divided up. Obviously with a PhD, your time management is all up to you, so you wouldn't get that same kind of structure. So yeah, having spent all of my degree basically trying to get the best grades I could so that I would be able to go on to a PhD, around November I basically decided, nope, you know what, that is not something that I want to do. So I sat down and from scratch basically worked out what I wanted in a job, what bits of my degree, when I said that I enjoyed bits of my degree, specifically what about it was it that I enjoyed. And I guess I'll talk more about this another time, but basically after a lot of like soul searching, I realised that the bits of my degree that I really enjoyed were kind of mathematical modelling and scientific computing. All of the modules and the projects I've done in those areas I've like loved, particularly my third year group project. I really enjoyed actually working as part of a team. So I essentially started looking at research jobs outside of academia that were kind of modelling based, I guess. So to give you some idea, one of the ones I applied for was the maths and cryptography research at GCHQ, and by the fact it's GCHQ and I'm telling you that I applied for it, you'll know that that's not the thing I went for in the end. But yeah, I also applied for a research job at another kind of organisation that I'm not going to name, at least I'm not going to name just yet. And this is honestly like my dream job and my dream organisation as well. I feel like it has all of the things that I wanted out of a research career, in that it allows me to fully make use of my degree, apply the things I've learned. It allows me to do computational and mathematical modelling and really contribute to an area of science. But it doesn't have any of the kind of bureaucracy that comes with academia. It doesn't have any of the kind of like grant writing. It doesn't have any of the problems with inclusivity and diversity, or at least it doesn't have them to the same extent. It has a really nice working atmosphere, and genuinely, like, I can't stress enough how excited I am to start. I'm just so happy. I feel like in November I was having this big crisis about what I wanted to do with my life, and it just kind of all worked out in the end. It's in a beautiful part of the country as well. I'm so excited. Again, I won't say where yet, but I'm going to be living by the sea. I loved living by the sea when I was up in Lancaster. One of my favourite things was at the end of the day to just go and cycle and sit by the coast. It's like the perfect size. I actually don't know if it's a town or city. I think it's a town, but it's like the perfect place that I wanted to live. And yeah, I just feel very happy with my choices, and it definitely was the right choice for me. It also means that I'll be earning straight out of university rather than like living as a student for another 3 or 4 years. So yeah, I think it is important to say that I haven't like completely ruled out a PhD in the future. This isn't me saying that I definitely don't want to do one. It's not like the main thing that I want to do at the moment, but I don't know, maybe in a couple of years time, particularly if I could do it part-time alongside work, if it helped me to kind of progress in the area that I'll be working in, I might consider it. But like it's not my main plan at the moment, and like I'm not fussed if I never do one, you know. That's kind of like the default for me now. Yeah, I just adore the job offer that I have, and I'm very excited to start. And I guess one of the main reasons why I wanted to make this video was because I didn't really know anything about research before I started my undergraduate degree, and throughout my degree I was kind of under the impression that the only place you could do research was in a university. And I was also kind of felt like, because I got very good grades throughout my undergrad degree, that if I didn't go on to do a PhD, I'd kind of be like wasting potential or the effort that I put in. And it's taken me up to this year to realise like that's definitely not the case at all. There are so many cool jobs outside of academia that allow you to completely utilise the skills you've learnt throughout your degree to contribute to like cutting edge science. And I'd just say that if you are a young scientist, I think it's a good idea to consider all your options and look at all the other job opportunities that are out there before just going down the obvious path, I guess. But like whatever kind of thing you're considering, I would really recommend doing internships. Like I'm really glad I did all the internships that I did. Yeah, basically just don't rule out a career outside of a university. There are lots of amazing careers that aren't based in universities. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's how I came to the conclusion of what I wanted to do with my life. Anyway, yeah, see you next time.